I'll try not to have too many camera issues this time around. So, yeah, I wanted to do the mascot. Looks like what we'll probably do is first figure out how we want this thing to look. I've never really thought about what it would look like beyond, a circle. So that's an issue. Because that could just be a cutout from something larger. So in other words, it could be something like, oh yeah, there's this monster and it's got 2 eyes and a mouth, but I'm only showing you this little portion of it. So, that could be one cheesy way to get away with a completely different look, but I think I'm going to stick with the circle. The circle's kind of cool. I think I can do that. One trick with the circle is in 3D, of course, it translates to a sphere, which means I'm going to have to figure out a way to make that. That's about the right size. So I'm guessing we're going to end up with something about this big, which means if we're keeping the proportions pretty decent, maybe about this tall. I'd like to go smaller if possible, but I think the smaller you go with EVA, the trickier it gets to work with it. I've got this thickness, which is about 1/4 inch. I also have this size, which I think is looks like about 1 or 2 millimeter, 2 millimeter. And then I've got a little bit, I don't know if this is thicker or thinner. I haven't actually looked. Or maybe I did, or I don't remember. This one's thicker, so I'm going to guess this is probably somewhere in the line of 3 to 4 millimeter. But I don't know that this will work for this particular project. I got this for the Molduga, and yeah, I think that's what we're going to keep that for. So no to this one and no to this one. We'll keep to the thick stuff. I'm building just basically a sort of framework, and yeah, the sphere, that's fine. That just means I'll have to cut some slices into it. So we're looking at something like an orange. This will probably get printed out. So I'll probably save the head for maybe toward the end. I don't know. I think right now we're in the design phase. We'll get as far as we can with most of it, but I might have to figure out what to do with this part. So I think this would probably be something like this, where you've got a bunch of little orange slices, elliptoids, I don't know what you refer to them as. And then each one of those will be cut out and then reshaped. And so you've got something kind of like this. I am going to add some details though. So the other thing that's a little tricky is the eyes and the mouth. They're not two-dimensional either. I'm going to stick with the elliptical kind of shape on the mouth. We'll do that. We'll do the little teeth. But with the hair on one monster side, we're gonna sculpt a little bit of hair to go on that. I think maybe an ear might be kind of cool. Over here, maybe some something like a little cylinder type deal. Looks like a basketball. I don't know. We'll work with that. This is gonna be different for sure. Yeah. Okay. So then the head. I don't want to go too bender the bending robot and make it just a straight up cylinder. So, but that is the easiest way to go. Let's do. We could do a cylinder, but I think what I'll do is once the cylinder is built up, we'll put a little pattern on it like this, all Iron Man style. And maybe just a cylinder, a large cylinder for the top, smaller cylinder for the bottom. And then with the legs, that's where it's going to get a little tricky. Do I want to do kind of boxy 1950s toy robot legs, where I've got something like this going on? Or do I want to do something like, you know, arms and legs that look something like this? Oh, well, actually, I almost forgot. We're splitting this sucker down the middle. I'm going to say let's go with these legs for this side, and we'll stick with the monster for the other side. We'll keep the proportions pretty similar. So to that end, I think we should probably do something like this. We'll just make this a furry son of a gun. Red fur everywhere. And then I think these ears should be much bigger. A little more character with some brow features. And then maybe to kind of match this, maybe a little antenna. Yeah. And we'll keep the arms boxy too, to kind of match the overall dimension, and we'll stick with some little EVA fingers. Do 3 to keep it simple. Well, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe 3 fingers and a thumb. So there's our design. Yeah, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. So let's designate our scale a little bit. I can probably get away with a lot. I might be able to even go really small if we do this right. So in that case, yeah, let's keep this kind of small. I want to use this as a straight edge. Andy, what's going on? You saw my little design layout? Lurker. I wonder how many lurkers there are about. Just lurking. Doing their lurking thing. Lurking with a merkin. Yeah, this is like a really big. I really don't want to go too big with this. I think probably for scale, I'm probably gonna go about half that size. Just because it's just more fun to handle something for me anyway. It's easier to handle something smaller. Maybe not quite that big. And just in terms of materials, I gotta save a little bit of this for the Molduga. Let's say about right here. Give him a good sized head, but make the body kind of cartoonish. I think this would be a good scale. Yeah, I think that's what we should aim for. Hand size. Almost action figure size. Lurking and eating noodles. What kind of noodles you guys eating? Noodles is in Italian or Asian noodles? I actually just kind of woke up myself because my alarm, which was supposed to have gone off, didn't apparently go off as well as I'd hoped. Is this sharp? This looks like it's not quite sharp. Let's put a new blade on this. We'll keep these though. Got some glue. Gonna have to buy some more glue. I use this Barks glue like crazy. Good stuff. I like the blue one. It's supposed to be less odorous, but to be honest, I can't really tell because I can't smell. So I'm hoping it also means it's less chemically caustic. I doubt it. They're probably just really good at hiding the smell of danger. All right. Yeah, we're just done with the design phase now, so on to the chopping. The chippy chopping block. Don't mess with me. I could probably get away with doing it if I'm going this scale. May not even have to make an orange because it's so little. I might just need just a kind of a basic shape underneath. So I don't think I'm going to need more material than what's going to be on half of one of these sheets. So I'm going to just say we're going to use half a sheet. Let's see how steady my hands are with cutting this business up. I'm just going to use that as a guide. So straight enough. We're going about that tall. Let's say that's a sharp blade. Love it when it's sharp. So let's see here. Need a small circle. What do I have I can make a small circle with? That's pretty small. That's pretty small. Hey, this will work. And a little big. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's really close. Might have to use that. Egg noodles with ginger garlic. Oh yeah, cool. My wife picked up these noodles that are supposed to be like 10 calories for 2 servings. So that should be interesting. I have no idea what they're made of. I've been wanting to try them. We'll see what happens. Sounds a little scary, but you know, life is scary. All right, we got some more circles. Looks like this one's about look at, oh my God, look at that. Look at this. Detergent circle is the perfect size. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Serendipity, baby. All right. Okay. I know what you're thinking. I'm not making a flat coin head. That'd be way too easy. But I'm going to use this as kind of a guide. And we'll probably fill a lot of it with clay. Good old foam clay. This looks like a fresh batch. I'm gonna have to see if I can find my not so fresh batch. I think it's in the closet here. I don't want to open a new one just for this. I've got a ton of the old one left. Let's see, where did I put it? Is it here? No. Let's take a look. Might have to make a quick trip to the garage before people start showing up, if anybody shows up. So give me 1 sec, I'll be right back. Well, yeah, I'll be right back. All right. Old container. There's more than enough in here for this. This should be plenty. Okay. Let's start by Try slicing through this. When you cut this stuff, you're supposed to kind of cut with the edge as straight as you can without angling it. But of course, I'm not. I do want the head to be at least fairly round. So I think I can cheat a little bit here though. No, just kidding. All right, I just love scaring you guys. Let's see. So I think on the head, I'll probably have to build up a little bit to get it really round with the clay, the foam clay, which means layering. So I think the initial pass will be kind of round-ish. That's pretty good. This is a very forgiving material. You can sand it, you can heat it, melt it. I mean, tons of stuff. But let's see here. What I'm going to do is just kind of get it close to the shape I want, and then wing it the rest of the way. I think we'll put more round on the front part, so let's do that. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Remember, this is being made by a mad scientist, not an accurate scientist. Let's go here, here. I think that's pretty good there. Still a little bit thick on this side, I think. First off, it's really kind of big. pretty close. You'll notice I'm not freaking out, stressing, heavy breathing, gasping for fresh air because I'm no longer in the garage, at least not today. This is my sort of secondary work table where I do little things, usually electronics, and occasional crafty stuff. If I don't want to take the time to do something major, I'll bring it in here. If it's not something that involves a lot of paint or glue or dust or wood grinding, I'm cool with it in my room. But yeah, I need that other space for big projects. Stuff like this, I could pretty much hang with. Not too big a deal. Let's let that dry for a little bit. Give it some air. All right, well, those two pieces are drying. You want this stuff to be, I wouldn't say completely dry, but you want it to feel like it's losing its tackiness and its fluidity before you can stick them together. And then once they're together, you're good. So on to the next bit. Let's do the body. I think for the body, like I said, I got plenty to work on here. We can probably make the body out of some of these scraps, or maybe we'll save some of these for the arms. We'll save that for the arms. Like for instance, I can cut these little sticks. Like this one's actually not too bad. I can cut them into little sticks and lay it out like this. And then cover that with putty or foam clay. Same thing here. In fact, these would probably be just about perfect for either one of these pieces. That arm specifically. So yeah, it's not like I've got a lot to worry about here in terms of shapes and sizes. Like, I mean, this is literally should be enough material to make that whole figure. Let's go with, I want to do about maybe that thick. Looks about right. Let's do a couple of those. We'll sandwich them together. And maybe about 3. Well, I want to save myself some space for the other stuff, so let's do 4, and we'll use 1 as a kind of a panel line. So let's say right about there. Right about here. Like I said, pretty forgiving material, not too worried about accuracy with this. Morrigan, hey. Yeah, the mascot for now. We'll see how far I get with this. I went from something about this size, just in the design phase, to, you know, what looks to be about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 inches tall. It's a lot easier to deal with. That's not quite ready yet. But yeah, should be pretty fun, pretty indestructible once it's done. I think I can at least agree on that. Let's see. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. That's a good thickness for the body. I'll have to add pieces too. How's that going to look? So let's look at this as a side profile. One more layer of thickness. I think this is good here for the. So yeah, let's give it another layer of thickness. And I think I'm going to cut some detail into this part right here. Or maybe I could do that with the thinner stuff. I don't know. I think, let's see, so this is a side view. Yeah, I think that's a good thickness. What I can do is chip away at it a little bit to kind of curve it out. And then here, a little bit on this side for the hairy part. So when I sculpt that out, big thing is just to make sure it stays separated left and right. But I think this will be fine for the body. So let's just go ahead and glue all these together. Pretty straightforward, nothing too fancy. It's the end result that matters. I mean, yeah, it's a good idea to have the stuff you're building it out of, I think, be pretty good shape, pretty strong, pretty well thought out. But it doesn't have to be pretty until it has to be pretty. You know what I mean? Don't worry about making it pretty till it counts. That's why with the even with the geisha bot I'm building right now, I really wasn't too concerned about the details of what's going to be about 80% covered up by something else. So yeah, pretty much. You're right. Function over form. That's exactly right. You really have to make sure if I'd rather have something that looks great and is strong too than something that just looks good but you can't touch or interact with. I mean, yeah, I do make a few things fairly, I wouldn't say delicate, but it's not something that I would hand over to my little 6-year-old nephew and expect to last. But I think in general, most of the stuff I build is pretty strong, pretty durable, and I don't know. Sometimes that's intentional. I think a lot of times it's just subconscious. I just like to build things that don't fall apart. So sticky. Get away. No. Well, got it. All right. All right. There we go. I almost didn't make it to this build session because my alarm didn't go off. It's supposed to go off like an hour before it started, and yeah, it went off. It didn't go off at all. My wife woke me up 30 minutes before I was supposed to start, so which was still enough time, but it would have been nice to freshen up a little bit. I just kind of went straight out, rolled out of bed, and started building stuff. So yeah, by the way, and we talked about this before, this is ready. Once this stuff is stuck on, it's stuck on. It's not coming off. So you gotta, that's one thing I'll say about this. The least forgiving part of this type of build with this type of material is once you've made the decision to stick it on there, it's not coming off without a lot of force. So fair warning. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's put the little front end of it on. We're kind of in the mock-up stage anyway. So yeah, you just want this stuff to be, you don't want to glob it on too severely. You just need enough to make contact with as much of the material as you want for it to be stuck to. A little goes a long way. And then you just that's a little bit irritating. Okay. I'm going to assume that's not going to happen again in this session. But you never know. It's part of the fun of being live. Just don't know what's going to happen. The collapse of civilization could be going on around me right now, and I'm just sitting here making a video on how to make a foam creature. Zombies could be raiding the Capitol. Who knows? That would be hilarious, though. Don't worry. I'd be fine. I'm pretty resourceful. I think I can handle a few zombies or post-apocalyptic mutants. Okay, I think that's actually, whoa, that's getting pretty tacky already. Let's give that a chance to dry. E6000, you're talking about this? This is barge cement. I don't know if E6000 is a similar. I think E6000 isn't the one they use for shoes. They use this stuff for shoes, I'm pretty sure. No, this is just barge. It's a brand they sell here in the US. I think they've got it in Europe too, but this one's really good. Probably perfect, actually. I think it's probably the best one I've tried. They sell this in a red tube. This blue one's supposed to be, I guess, the new odor-free formula. But yeah, this stuff's awesome. I mean, I haven't seen anything that works better for this type of material. And it's strong as all get out. Look at that. All right, we got the some semblance of a head. And yeah, I know it's not dead center. That was on purpose. I want this to be just kind of the round back end of the skull, which maybe I'll even chop into it a little bit. And then the round face part, I wanted to have enough of room to where it's not perfectly round so I can sculpt onto that. So we're going to fill this in with some little bits of this to build it out and just kind of shape it to the way we want. I think that's probably good enough. It's getting pretty tacky already. All right, we've got almost the majority of this done. Okay, so we're just waiting for this to get dry, and we've got the head and the body done just about, or at least the beginnings of it. All right. Yeah, it's very strong. I had a piece, I think I threw it away already, that I demonstrated with in a live drawing session where I just cut two pieces and they were little sticks about maybe the size of this, a little bit thicker. And I just stuck two ends together like that and left them and came back, and you could pull on them with as much force as you want, and the likelihood that the glue would separate was less than if this would break, if that tells you anything. I mean, it's once this bonds together, it's pretty strong. You just got to make sure it's at that tacky phase. It's still wet. It hasn't completely kind of adhered to the material. It's pretty good. It's getting pretty good. So, I mean, I think the temperature in here has been pretty ideal for the glue drying fairly quick. So let's see. How do I want this? Right about there? Oh, gotta be careful. Once it's on, it's down. That looks pretty good. Yeah, there we go. Strong. All right. Body is done. Head is pretty done. Let's look at our little pattern here. Looks like it's pretty dead on in terms of the overall shape and dimension. So all we got to do now is just add a little detail. I think I might smooth this out a little bit, curve that out. Sharp blade's always good. We'll give this kind of a more rounded look. I don't want to go into getting the grinder out and doing all that. So I'm going to get it kind of close and then do the rest with the other stuff. I think what I do need is a little bit of water. This will make a nice little water dish. Just clean some stuff out of it. All right, be right back. Just gonna fill this with some water here. I'll be back. What is the water for? Well, if you must know, is he going to be freestanding or are you making a base for him? Nope, he's going to be freestanding. Believe it or not, I can make this completely freestanding, which is a really good point. He's super light, and when I say super light, that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because, as you can see, tossing it around doesn't really do a whole lot to it. It literally just bounces around. This stuff is so light and so flexible that it's really hard for it to incur any kind of damage. There's nothing for this to chip away with. The problem is, it becomes really pretty light to the point where it's difficult for for it to have any kind of center of gravity. It's just so airy. What I've done in the past is I've put weight kind of in this area so that it pushes down this way. And so if the center of gravity is kind of in the butt area and you position the legs just right, you can get, I feel like the high knocks I made um, is a really good example of that. It's got a small metal socket driver that was just damaged that I was going to throw away anyway. And I ended up just inserting it right up the butt into like a little cavity and gluing it in place and sealing it all up. And that was enough weight to give it enough counterbalance or leverage to be able to actually stand in kind of this, almost like this position, and even hold things like as big as this Sharpie with its arms outstretched forward. So you've got something that's got its legs bent like that. You're looking at something like, and it's probably what I'll do here is give it the legs a little bit of a bend. So let's look at this guy from the side view. From the side view, we're probably looking at something like this, maybe a little straighter. So here's the head. The leg's going to be like that. And then maybe one arm outstretched, maybe another arm out going this way. The other leg kind of doing this bit in the same direction, right? But, it's kind of cartoony, so I'm probably going to give it fairly large feet, and that'll give it plenty. I'm not going to go the spoon foot route like Andy does with his super feet. His feet are like, you cannot deny Andy's mecha feet are like the ultimate in well balanced, well made feet. It leaves a lot. I mean, I think that's a good plan when you're doing something like that, because it just ensures that whatever you make is going to stay in one place. But if you want something smaller, you have to do a lot more planning, especially if you're putting more weight up top in a kind of awkward positions. Otherwise, yeah, the best thing to do is always go with big feet. That's the thing. Andy knows it. I know it. Anybody else who's ever had to make a figure of some kind probably knows it, that big feet mean a lot better stability and balance when you're setting it on the ground. Otherwise, you really have to plan where, how far out does this point go? How far out does that point go? Where does that place the center of gravity? Where does that balance get shifted to? The arms are going to be putting a little bit of balance this way. This large head, if you're putting too much emphasis on stuff in front of it, you're going to make it tilt forward. So to counter that, you either have to put something long on the back or some weight up here, or you put weight down here to push it down this way to keep it leaning in another direction. And even the biggest feet, unless you glue it to a base, which I'm not crazy about. There's nothing wrong with bases. I just think, with stuff that you're going to play with, I think wargaming miniatures are maybe the exception. But even 40K Games Workshop doesn't put their Titans on bases necessarily. Well, they kind of do. But yeah, you get the idea. So yeah, no. Short answer is no, I'm not going to put a base. Probably could have just said that and left it at that. But anyway, instead I had to draw Mysterio here. Freaky, what's going on? Yeah, you could weigh the shoes, probably with washers. Painting walls. Yeah, no worries. Hey, Aaron, what's going on? So this is how far we've gotten. You haven't missed much. We had initial design phase number 2, scaled it down. pretty much made this bit. I'm probably just going to make a couple of little changes here to get it to where I want it. So I want to have enough room to sculpt some fur on here. So I'm going to probably slice some of this off of the edges, give it a more organic shape. And let's see, maybe right here, just a little bit. I want to still have enough to glue an arm to it. And I think, I might go a little more round in the front here too, just a little bit. Yeah. So there's your shape. See, it's got a little bit more of a curve here. It's still a little boxy on this side, but that'll give me some room to sculpt some fur and stuff on it. I'll probably shave a little bit off of this side of the head. And don't forget, I'm going to be taking a little bit of this. I don't like to waste anything, so I'll try to put some scraps in here to give the head a little bit more body, like to fill out these gaps and fill out this shape, this round shape. You want it to be like this, right? Nice little, so I want it to be more or less in that shape. So I've got room to fill this out with more foam to kind of, enlarge it a little bit. I think one way I might do that is just, well, let's put on the legs, see where those are going to go. So the way I'm going to do the legs, pretty easy. Cut a little piece. There's leg one, there's leg two. One of them's going to be a little bit more robotic than the other. We'll say this is a robot leg. Looks straight enough. I can always build it out with some more stuff later. So I think that's a good thickness for later. Let me cut another piece out of here. How about this one? That's probably good. This is just so squiggly, it's hard for me to get it to hold still while I chopped it. There we go. So it doesn't have to be too big. I'm going to put these at kind of a funny angle. Let's say about right there. So about like that. So it's going to be kind of at an angle and sort of splaying out toward the front a little bit like this. Sort of that squatty action pose. Something like that. It's a very monster looking action pose. And then I'll straighten out the front knee a little bit, but we'll start this toward the back of the body like that and then build it up. So it doesn't have to be too big. We'll say about right here. Okay, I'll let that dry for a little bit. Like I said, you got to let this stuff sort of get the moisture out before you can tack it together. Those little webs that stick to you. All right. We'll do the same for the robot leg. This would make probably a pretty decent start for an arm, so we'll say that's going to be the arm. We'll start with that. It's going to slow down a little bit here because I can't glue one thing and chop another thing till I've got kind of an idea where everything's going to sit. So I'm just going to cut some limbs up a little bit here. In the meantime, looks like I've got a couple I can use. We'll do the famous strength test here in a second. Whoa, too much. Go back in there. So what I'm gonna do is this is not for the robot. This is just to show you how strong this stuff is for those of you that hadn't seen it before. We're gonna let this dry a little bit, and then we'll let this dry off a little bit. Maybe get some of that glue off with some other pieces. A little bit too much glue on there. You don't need to put a huge blob of glue. It's actually better just to have kind of a thin film of it with this stuff, as it'll dry quicker and then it'll also set a lot quicker. And once it's got that kind of tackiness, I mean, it's pretty much stuck instantly without any hope of ever getting it off again. You pretty much have to cut it apart. You know what I can do? I can put some glue in here and start building up some of this section. So let's do that. We'll cut some little pieces for that. Oh, why is this so big? There we go. And I'm really just filling this in so I don't waste too much of the foam clay material, this one here. For those interested, the one I'm using is Cal Palmy foam clay. I just got this one because it was the cheapest for the largest amount, and this is my second container, or actually this is my first container. I have another new one that I haven't even opened yet. But man, this stuff works great. Comes in a little hard plastic container like this. Inside the container is a bag. I just put it in a secondary Ziploc bag just to make extra sure that this is still fresh. But yeah, it's been pretty awesome. For 500 grams of this stuff, it was 20 bucks. I mean, so pretty good deal. You barely get that much milliput. Oh yeah, the water. So the water is, yeah, Aaron, the blade, actually, I just started with a fresh blade. It's not that it needs changing. It's that when I was, and I knew that it was going to look like that. It's that when I was cutting with a, like just going straight across it. But this stuff is so flexible that it was just kind of giving and wiggling before the blade could catch. It's a pretty sharp blade. I mean, just to give you an idea. It's sharp. It's very sharp. Trust me. But yeah, it's just, you know, when the thing you're trying to cut is super flexible, I mean, it's like cutting water, right? How do you cut that? What's the water for? The water is for the foam clay. So, fun fact, with foam clay, or at least this brand, I'm pretty sure all the foam clays are fairly similar. If you take water and you apply it to the material that you're going to mount it to, it will provide a little bit better adhesion for the foam clay to stick to it. Don't know why, that's just the way it is. This is water, fairly water soluble. Yeah, if you use too much water, in other words, you can use water or moisture to smooth out areas that you don't want that are maybe picked up an impression, and you want to keep it smooth. You can use water to smooth it out. You do not want to use too much water because if you have too much water, trust me, you'll find out quick. This stuff will start to almost deteriorate. And as it dries, at least my understanding of it, based on using it, it starts to expand just a little bit, maybe a millimeter at most. But as it's drying, I think it's because it's releasing all the moisture from the material, and since it's doing that, it's leaving these little air pockets and kind of maybe expanding a little bit. And that's why I always what I've said before in the past in other videos is if you're going to use this, it's not the greatest for holding detail. It can. If you put a line in it, it's going to swell up, and that line will be virtually invisible by the time it's dry. So if there is something that you want a lot of detail on with this type of material, you can sure put a line where you want the line to be. Just don't expect it to be there when it's thoroughly dry. The best thing I would say is go back, make a little thin noodle of it, and set it down where you want it to be, show a little bit of detail, and then that's the way you do it. Or what I've also done for things like teeth and horns is, and a lot of people do this with other material types, is make it separately, let it dry on its own, and add those as separate pieces. It'll take crazy glue, super glue too. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, when this dries, it's basically just like this. It'll even take bargs, as far as I know. Pretty awesome. All right, back to work. Oh, these two little pieces. So they feel pretty tacky now. Let's stick them together, and I will show you how strong just this stuff can be. All right, looks like they're pretty together. I can probably yank on them now, but I'm going to give them a few more seconds to kind of apply their little gluey strength. So, I mean, it's pretty well bonded now, but I'll pull on it real hard later. We'll let that cure. All right, so, oh, our leg should be ready. There it is. There's our leg, already stuck to it. Making pretty good progress. All right. We're going to go with another leg, let's say about this tall. So we'll be chopping this one up a little bit. And this is not going to be the actual shape of the leg. Obviously, I'm going to put some stuff on it, but let me look at your comments. You didn't say what the water is for you. Okay, so we're caught up on comments. You know what? That says top chat. Let me go to where live chat is. Looks about the same. Duty calls. Uh-oh. All right. No extra comments. Just keep watching me plug away. Oh. Don't even have to squeeze it to make stuff come out. That's awesome. Wait, is this at enough of an angle? No, I really need to. We'll cut a little bit of this off. Yeah. So I usually take a little bit of this stuff and smear it around on both pieces. Like put it on one piece and then kind of rub it on the other piece. Let it get a thin film, and then just wait for it to dry. Let's build up some of the stuff that's going on in here. So in that vein, let's cut some more pieces. Oh shoot, too much. Too much! So if you do make a boo-boo like I just did and put too much glue down, no biggie. Just find other areas you need it and slap it down there too. You just kind of thin it out. Put it where you don't need to put it. Oh, be nice and tacky in a little bit. We can start slapping some pieces on there. Whoa. Yeah. And this stuff's, it'll stick to your fingers, but it's, I mean, it's like if you've ever had rubber cement as a kid, it's not real different from that. Probably a little more toxic than rubber cement though, so I'll go eating it or anything, making little boogers out of it. Okay. That looks like that's actually pretty tacky on one spot. Let's see if this will stay on there. And like I said, I'm just kind of, really at this point, I'm just filling stuff out before I put the foam down. Just because I can get the EVA a lot cheaper than the foam, so I'm not as concerned about wasting it. Which is not to say I want to waste it either. That's why I'm obviously using scraps. Whoa. Where's our leg piece at? Did I just drop it? Did I waste it on something? Did I just attach the leg piece to somewhere? Was that my leg piece? Dang it. I guess I'll have to cut another leg piece. All right. Cut another leg piece. Let's take some of that off. The thing about this, you don't want to make it too thin, or it won't be. You won't be able to. That's probably pretty good right there. All right. All right, I'll try not to waste this one like I did the other one. Doesn't look too pretty right now, I know, but. All right, so while that's drying, you guys can talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to take a quick breakfast / lunch break for about 5 minutes. And let's do this. BRB. All right, guys. So you know where our progress is. Let's zoom in on that a little bit. Ooh. Hey, that's Ron. Hey, Mark. There we go. I'll get you kind of where you need to be. Let me move this over here. I didn't miss anything yet. All right. Coffee. Coffee, baby. All right. Let me bring up the chat here. I know a couple of you came in just as I was. Oh, hey. What's up? So we got S-Rom. Oh, a wandering camera. Here we go. Sarah. Silver's here. Morrigan's still here. Tahiki was in here earlier. I don't know if Terrain is still here or if he's lurking again. How much time is it anyway? Oh, we still got a little less than an hour. All right, this leg should be ready to go. Not instilling a ton of confidence, but yeah, looks about the right size. This one's going to be covered with fur anyway. Here's that piece I glued earlier. You might recall. Where's the camera lens? Right there. I'm exerting quite a bit of force, if you can see me pulling on this. So, yeah, this stuff's pretty strong. Let's get a little bit of gooiness in here. All right. I guess this is as good a time as any to kind of build up some of the stuff on the head so you guys can see what that putty's like. There's really no rhyme or reason to this. I've got kind of an idea of how I want this to be. We could probably do the legs here in a second. The robot leg. Let's go ahead and cut a robot leg before we go straight into the putty now. I want it to be pretty much the same angle as the other one, so about right there. That looks good. And it looks like that cutoff point is about right there for the knee. Pretty close, pretty darn close. Maybe a little thinner, just so I can add some details to it. So let's say about right there. Yeah. I want to keep it more or less the same size. All right. Just making sure there's a good chunk of film on here. All right, you got your glue on one side and the other side. So let's let that dry for a little bit. And I think once we get the second leg on and it looks like it's pretty well even, we can move on to putting some putty on here, because I'd like to put the base of the feet on too. And keep in mind, like I said, we're only using half of one of these sheets to make this entire robot for the most part. And I still have this left, and this left to make limbs with. So I think we're pretty good. We've already got the most of the body, which is pretty good thickness. That's the side view. That's the front view. Yeah, I think we're on a blow some air on it. Sometimes if you got a hair dryer or a fan, you can kind of get the glue to kind of set up a little bit quicker, but usually I just like to let it do its own thing. I'll just check on it every once in a while. I wouldn't give it more than a few minutes. So while that's drying, anybody got any questions they want to ask? While I'm eating my breakfast? That is Barge's glue. So Barge's it's kind of like, it has about the consistency of a rubber cement. If you just look up Barge, B-A-R-G-E, they also make a red version, and they also make a version that comes in a big tin with a paintbrush. I just like the tubes. They're just easier to deal with and handle and put away if you can find the top for it. What do I do with the top? Did it fall on the ground? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Raggy. Put some light in here. There it is. So let's cap this. This one is a 2 ounces. I don't remember what it cost. I want to say probably like $8. Might have been more or less than that. But they sell it on Amazon. You can find it probably at hobby stores or hardware stores, more likely. There are other glues that are good for EVA foam, but that's the one I found that's best. I've only overheard of some other brands, but they were overseas brands, and I'm not familiar with them. What's Sarah putting pics of? The robot? That creature? The monster, right? With the kangaroo mermaid? Who else is making monsters for the Morrigans Creations challenge? I know Morgan is for sure. What about Esrom? Are you making anything? I don't know if I saw you post anything. Making a monster? Well, I don't know if you guys can hear me when I was asking questions, but I was. But I'm guessing this part's probably ready to go. Okay. My dog is whimpering at my door. He desperately wants to come in, so I might have to let him in here. I gotta let this stuff dry a little bit anyway. Oops, webs. But I think it's a good opportunity to put some arms on too. Which one's the face? That's the face section, so. I think we can put this here. Okay. That's an arm, part of an arm anyway. I think this will be the next arm. I know a bunch of you are waiting for the foam part of this, so don't worry, it's coming. I'll have a bunch of foam on this before the end of the 2 hours, so don't worry. Yes. Well, for instance, this is EVA foam, right? That high density black EVA foam. You can use it for packaging and all kinds of cool stuff. The foam I'm referring to, however, is what's in here, the foam clay. All right. Okay, looks like we've got some legs. And a couple of arms. There we go. Let's see where we're at. Pretty good. Pretty good. And does he stand on his own? No, doesn't really have quite enough to balance on his own yet, but we can fix that real quick with a couple of little feet. Nothing too fancy. Something I can sculpt onto or add to later. So we're just going to do a couple of little brick feet. I want to give him enough balance to stand on his own. And then as soon as these feet are on, let's start slapping some foam on this puppy, right? I keep saying foam, I mean foam clay. Technically, he's completely made out of foam. And the idea is to make him kind of stand on his own. So that's kind of what we're going for. Which means, and there's a lot of ways to do that. I think Terhiki, when he was on, mentioned putting weights on the feet, which, I mean, I'm cool with that. The weights on the feet idea is a good one. That's a sound idea. Done that many times before, but I usually keep the extremities kind of metal free, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why that is. I guess I think it's mainly because when I was making other stuff for my nephew, he's a little kid, and I was worried that he might dislodge it or, you know, maybe hit somebody with it. Who knows? I'm not saying he's violent. I'm just saying, accidents happen when you're a kid. But yeah, it just seemed like an easier idea to put it right here. So you put a weight either here or in the body, embedded, and you don't have to worry about it. Safe as can be, right? Okay, almost done. We just got to let these little feet get a little tackier, and then we can slap those on, and I'm pretty sure he'll be able to stand on his own. I'm pretty good at this balancing thing. I don't know if you've noticed that, but other than a couple of things, everything I've made has been pretty well balanced. I can get him to stand on this base pretty easily, but we don't want him to do that. Almost stuck him down. That would have been bad. Actually, this looks like it might be ready. All right, let's put him on his little square feet here. All right, we got 1 foot going that way, 1 foot going that way. I'm going to probably add some detail to these later, so I want them to be pretty, not huge, but pretty good size. Uh-oh. Let's see. Can he stand? If he can't, I might have to change the angle on this. He can. Ta-da! Let's look at him. Let's take him off our little stand here for a second. He can stand. So here's where we're at right now. I think I said this was what, 5 inches, 6 inches tall? If you could rent a room from a non-human, that would be cool. What? I'm missing out on some serious weirdness in the chat room. Let me take a look at what's going on. All right, here we go. Got disconnected there for a second. There we go. All right, so there he is. Does he match up to the size? He should match up pretty much exactly. Yeah, I repositioned the arm, so well, whatever. So, yeah, there he is. There's my monster. Let's see what the foam does. So, the water. There's a few ways I could do this. I think probably the easiest way is... let's see, let's look at the chat. Silver's here, Esrom's here, Sarah's here. Right. So, the foam clay. Everybody's very curious about this stuff. I think the only person that's actually used it, or actually, well, not used it, but had any contact with it other than me in this group so far has been Silver, and that's because I sent him a finger. So he knows what it's like when it's dry. This is what it's like when it's not dry. Weird, right? It's like a rubbery, slimy goo. I try to get as many air bubbles on as I can before I put it on so I can get a nice solid. You can leave it kind of bubbly like it was. But yeah. All right. So got a little bit of globby clay here. We can kind of start adding some depth to this a little bit. So I put the water on here because it helps promote adhesion to the EVA. And I'm just gonna kind of slap it all around here for now. Don't forget, half of this is robot, half of this is furry. So for the head, I'm just gonna build it out with some foam. The body, all this is gonna be fur, and all this is gonna be robot. So let's start with just getting some foam on the body, on the head here, and get some shapes going. This stuff is so easy to work with, it's ridiculous. It does, like I said in the past, have some quirks, which you kind of have to work around, but otherwise, it's pretty damned amazing. Oops, I said the D word. Is that the D word? I don't know. I think some people would disagree with that. All right. Let's put some more water on here and see if I go like this, right, and then I get a little bit of water. I can probably smooth all that back out. And anything I don't smooth out will probably puff out on its own. In other words, literally disappear on its own once this stuff dries as it expands out. So I've already got my round shape for the head, more or less. I don't want to go past my little pattern. I will a little bit once I've got these kind of quarters built out to where it's more filled out. Yeah, the stuff I'm using is nothing like that, Sarah. This is like bubble gum. Like I don't even know how to describe it. It's not the stuff you're using. That's for sure. Once this dries, it is very similar to to EVA foam. But this stuff, there are no beads in it. It's just like a very smooth, buttery gum. Almost like peanut butter even. I mean, it's just cool. It's just so cool. But and it's so easy to work with. I mean, and you know what's cool is I'm putting water on this, and unlike stuff like Milliput or epoxy sculpt, where or even what's the other one, Magisculpt. Unlike those, there's no residue that's on my fingers. It doesn't leave anything on my finger. Look at these. No residue. Nothing. It's literally just going where I want it to go. And it's super light and super workable. I have a feeling he's going to be too top heavy on the head to stand on his own pretty soon. Well, maybe not. I don't know. It'll be a little of a balancing act. Might have to. I think it's because his limbs are a little flexible. There we go. Ta-da! But and there's not enough balance weight on this yet, so. Yeah, once this stuff's on, it's gonna stay on. It's not gonna just separate from the foam. You really have to work it. I mean, cut it off almost in some cases to make it even come off of the foam. And if you know you want a little bit better adhesion in between layers, you can put a little water in there too. It makes it kind of more gooey. If you needed to fill in cracks and stuff, for instance. So there's a lot of foam here in this guy's head. Probably more than I originally intended, but oh well. Stuff happens. And this will be touch dry. I'd say completely cured probably within the next 24 hours. It'll be touch dry maybe in the next 6 to 8. In other words, I'll be able to manipulate it to where I'm not super worried about deforming it too much like I am right now. But yeah, so here's where we're at. Not quite a circle yet. Yeah, so that's a good question, Esron. And the answer is yes. You can actually uh, sand it. Um, it's a little bit flexible, like the EVA. So sanding it is kind of a weird trick. You really can't hand sand it because, if you're hand sanding something that's got some flexibility to it, it's going to be moving back and forth with the grit, right? But you can cut into it, like cut into slices. So if you wanted to say make something that was very square, you could make a little blob with your thumb, just push it down, let it dry, and then literally cut it with a razor blade into a very nice slice, and then pop it off of whatever surface you have it on. Um, and as far as sanding, yeah, you can sand it. I've used the Dremel sander to sand scars into it and cut it into smaller shapes. Once it dries, it's very much like the EVA foam. I'd say it's maybe a little bit lighter. The EVA foam is much more dense. This is not quite as dense when it dries, but it's pretty darn close. So let's see. To give you an idea, we've got some, I think we got some room we can build up some things here. So let me see what we can do. I think I'm going to do is put a couple of pieces of EVA in here, like on the inside edge and here, to kind of give it a little bit more structural stability because they're a little bit noodly. Which, I mean, that's not too bad, but I think it's making it hard for it to balance because the legs are kind of moving around so much. And I think what we probably want to do now is put some eyes in here or some areas where the eyes are going to go. So let's do that. So I can kind of establish where stuff is going to be. I think the mouth is going to be right here too. So let's figure that out too. All right, there we go. Yeah, it's pretty good. But like, see these ridges right up in here? It's not very smooth. I can do this, get a very thin, squished out piece of this, and just fill it out. Until it looks smooth. Ta-da! So yeah, like I said, this stuff's amazing. Um, Not super worried about messing this up at all. Um, I can always go back in and cut some details out of it later if I don't want stuff in certain sections, or if it's not smooth enough, I can probably yank it off. But yeah, once it's on there pretty good. And you've got a really good working time with this. It's very, very workable. Let's get a little bit more. I'm trying to round out his head a little bit more to make it look more spherical. So I'm trying to give it more of that round look. It's getting rounder. A little bit too much water. Sometimes you put a little too much water and it just kind of slides around. You have to give it a sec to kind of get some adhesion. Especially considering the part underneath it isn't even dry yet, and it's still sticking to it pretty well, which is pretty amazing in itself. If you've got a lot of experience with other types of clays and putties, you can understand why that would be kind of amazing. At least it is to me, but there's, like I said, there's a lot of cool properties of this stuff that never ceases to amaze me, but it's got its faults too. Let's get that nice and smooth. So I think we're off to a good start here. I think before I waste this, well, we could probably do a little bit of the fur, just a little bit, so you guys can see how I'm going to be ending up doing that. I think there's lots of ways to do it. I'm going to do it the lazy way, which is just put a big layer on and push it in. At least for this little section right here, just so I can demonstrate. I can always go back and flesh it out some more. But let me see. Yeah, here we go. So what I was thinking of doing is just kind of, oops, probably helps if you have a wet tool so it doesn't stick. But you might recall this monster is pretty basic looking. He's not like, I don't want this to look like scales, but that's kind of where it's looking. But for now, I think this is probably okay. I can give it a little bit more randomness to make it look less scale-like. Sharpen up some edges. Push some edges out. And if I don't like this, I can always peel it off later, so not a biggie. There's my fur. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think we can put this piece back in the blob. We're right at 1:52, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up just to keep that 2-hour block. Not a whole lot I can do with him at this point, just to kind of let him dry off a little bit. Probably a good idea to smooth this out again, so I don't have to do that twice. All right. And I'll just lean him over somewhere where he's not going to fall down and bump into stuff, like right there. And we'll get back to him maybe tomorrow. Who's on here? Let's ask some questions. while you're here. Well, don't have a heart attack, Silver. I'm sorry to hear that. Get in the heat, get out of the heat, man. I know where I'm at all this week, starting today. It's supposed to go into the early hundreds, so I think this week it's going to be 104, 105, 106, 107, just kind of climbing right up to Thursday, and then Friday I think it starts dropping down to like 102. All the lows are in the high 70s, if that. So I'll be watering my grass like crazy. You're looking for a tiny Lego, all right? Have you gone to the Lego website? I think they'll actually sell you individual Legos. Like, no joke. Oh. Well, you know, the best way to find a Lego on the floor is not look for it. Just walk around on the floor with the lights off and you'll hit it fast. I guarantee you'll find the Lego you're looking for. It just might not be it'll be in a kind of a painful way. Is there anything more excruciatingly painful than Legos on a hard tile floor? Or any floor? Oh, Mark took off? Didn't he take off earlier? I didn't even know he was still on. Who's still on right now? Is it Morrigan or? I see Esram, I see Sarah, I think Silver's still on. Who else is on here? It says there's 5 people on. Roll call. Yeah, the heat's going to be terrible. Anybody got any questions before I wrap this up? He's kind of looking like a little Tim Burton figure right now, but I think it's off to a good start. About the size I want. It's got the shape I want. We just got to strengthen out the legs next time. We'll have some arms on here next time. I'll decide if this fur is worth keeping next time, because it looks kind of gooey. I don't know. The fur might be all right. We'll see. It's a very simplistic creature, or at least stylized creature. See, I can just use my fingers in here. We'll see. I think the fur's going to need some work. Might have to apply it in sections, like individual fur chunks, and like spend a little more time actually carving it. I was just kind of throwing it on there for fun. You can see it's sort of settling in right here. Let's and that could be smoothed out somewhere too. But we'll get to that in a little bit. I could probably get this like buttery smooth if I really try. But yeah, I think we're off to a good start. We'll put him there. So I guess if there's no more questions, where'd you get the foam clay? All right. I mentioned this a few times, but this foam clay I got on Amazon. Do a search for Cal Palmy foam clay. I am not an affiliate. I wish I was, because this stuff rocks, man. This is my second tub. So yeah, 500 grams for about 20 bucks. And to give you an idea what 500 grams is, I mean, look at the size of this thing. It's huge. It's like it looks like a half-gallon container. This is the bag it came in. This was full when I got it. I put this in a Ziploc bag. It's got a little kind kind of a sealable bag, but since I don't trust these, I put this bag in another bag. There we go. Yeah, it's letting air out. So as long as it's airtight, it's in pretty good shape. But yeah, I'd definitely do a search for that. There are other brands of clay. I haven't tried them yet, so I can't speak to how great they are. I'm sure they're fine. There's a black one in particular I've been wanting to try. I forget what it's called. But all you need is a little bit of water to smooth stuff out with it and, you know, promote adhesion to the EVA. I like to use it with the EVA because, one, it sticks to the EVA really well. When it dries, it's about the same. And it's easy to cut a little skeleton out of this stuff, like a basic substructure with this, and then add the details with that. Especially if you're making like something organic. This doesn't lend itself to something organic unless you really cut and sand and shave it. But you can make real basic skeletons with it and then just add the other stuff. No Coke, just water. Anybody else got a question? Before I end this, does anyone have a question about either the materials or the little man over here? Where is it? That one there. That one there. It's not really a man, it's a bot beast. Otherwise it'd be a man bot or a man beast, but there's no man involved here, just bot and beast. Well, beast. Yeah. Hence the name. Ice melted in your soda doesn't count. What fur did you get? Fur? What fur did I get? I'm not sure I understand the question. Do you mean what did am I using? I'm not using fur for this. I'm sculpting the fur onto this. So this is going to be the fur. Once it's dry, I'll paint it red. So let's fur it out a little bit more. So yeah, this will be the fur. It looks kind of scaly, but it's fur. Maybe I should add some more lines to it. Trust me, it'll look furry when it's dry and painted. We'll add some little lines here. And that is how you make fur. Let's get some light on there. More light, more light, more light. There we go. That's going to be the fur. All right. Let me set him there. And a lot of that detail, funny enough, is going to be lost when it dries. All right. I don't know what's going on here, but y'all need to calm down. I have to eliminate the cursive words from the chats. So I'm going to hide that one. Oh, fabric fur. Right, I gotcha. No, that makes sense too. And you know what? If I wanted to, I still could, because this will take glue really well. I would just sculpt out the shape and just apply little patches of fur. Personally, that would limit me personally, because if you're buying fur, then you're really stuck to whatever color of fur is available rather than being able to paint your own. And that fabricy fur can go bad or gooey. And when I say bad or gooey, I mean it collects dust, it collects, something can happen to it. This stuff is just going to be solid forever. And I can paint it in whatever color I want. If I change my mind, I want to go blue, I can go blue. So that's why I would normally sculpt fur. Very rarely have I used, like with the geisha bot, I don't use fabrics ever. But with that one, it just seemed appropriate. I was originally just going to make the robe and paint the patterns on, but I wanted something that looked a little more authentic. Sorry, I'm eating. But yeah, there's that. The other thing too, I'm going to be using a lot more real world stuff in some of my little builds for my game. So, in the case of that, you might see me use some artificial fur for the clothing or some other element. Just because the whole idea of that game is you're playing with them in a real environment. Like this would be a guy and you use him to walk across your desk. Yeah, I think with this guy, I'm going to have to put some weights either on his, maybe not so much on his feet, but maybe on the front of his chest to balance him out a little bit more. We'll see. We'll see once it dries. I have used fabric impressions on clay. It's kind of hard to do on some clays. This stuff will take a little bit. I've used, where is it? I've used like that packing foam for this and rocks also for certain textures. I use this material. It's another type of like foam to apply a texture to this stuff before to get a sort of a leathery, rough leathery look. But I've also used, I find that canvas and linens, things with coarse open weaves work the best for fabrics because they leave a much better impression. This stuff, it's really hard to leave an impression on. I mean, it does initially, but as it dries, since it swells up, a lot of that detail kind of disappears. And you'll know, I mean, take a good look at this fur. A lot of that's going to be gone tomorrow. You can already tell some of the little lines I'd originally put in here. Like I had put some small hair-like lines like this. Those are going to be gone by tomorrow. You'll be able to tell it's close to what I put here, but yeah, this is literally going to be kind of like very smoothed out. And that's one of the things I'm not crazy about with this material is the way it holds detail is it's very tough to get it to stay. But I think if you keep messing with it, you'll figure it out. There's some little tricks to it. Right now it's got kind of a Chewbacca fur look, but that's okay. There's a lot of there's more advantages than disadvantages for me. If I really wanted to go back over this with like the epoxy sculpt of the green stuff, I could go back over it with that to pull out some more of that detail, which I might have to do. At this scale, I think it's not that big of a problem. I wouldn't go any smaller than this, and any detail you put in like that would be completely lost. It would just turn into a balloon. What, is he a new mascot? No, he is not well, I mean, he is new, and then I'm making him, but it's my same old mascot. So yeah, I mean, it's basically my mascot in 3D. See? Take the ears off. There he is. So, yeah. I just figured it was about time I made a 3D version, a full body version of what my mascot looks like. So when he's done, he'll look kind of like this. In fact, he's about the same size. So I'll probably, that little ear you see there, see this spot right here? I'm going to leave that open and I'm going to glue a little ear to that. And then here, I'm going to make a little disc and glue it to that and then make a little antenna. There you go. Yes, he is both the mascot and the Mayhem build. I figured this is as good an excuse as any to start build. I've been planning to build one forever, but I had other projects I wanted to work on. It just didn't seem like, you know, I had a good excuse. And after thinking about it, he is a monster. So yeah, and it's original. So yeah, this is my opportunity to, you know, make my little mascot. Why not? All right, guys, I'm gonna let you go. I got stuff to do today. Don't worry, I won't do any progress on this one until I see you guys next time. Part of the fun on these videos is actually seeing it kind of flesh out. Yes, his name is not Puddinfoot. I'm gonna make a Puddinfoot, and I'm gonna make him wear an SROM t-shirt. You're asking for it, buddy. All right, we'll talk again later. You guys, I'll see you probably in Andy's stream later if he's on. He's probably gonna be on a little bit anyway. Or I don't know if it's anybody. Who else is streaming today? Anybody? Silver, are you gonna put any streams up, or are you gonna put any new videos up? You guys have probably seen some of my new videos. Hopefully, if you haven't seen the Geisha build series, check it out. That's something I've been working on. It's actually a really, 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 really late response to Silver's Samurai Challenge. I'm sorry, Silver. I just never had a, man, I just got busy, you know, work got in the way. I had other stuff I was already into. Then I forgot all these nephews I have had birthdays and Christmas and everything else got in the way. Graduations. It just sort of never stopped. So I just sort of forced myself to start work. That's why I'm posting them at random. It's like whenever I get a chance. Hey, what's up, Mr. Good? So you kind of came in late. I'm getting ready to wrap up, but just to let you know, I'm basically making my channel mascot as the monster. So I had my, I'll fill you in on what's going on. I have my early design. This is my design phase. Then I just like, okay, yeah, let's refine that a little bit. This is kind of what I want to do and how big I want to do it, which is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's probably about 6 and a half, 6 and a quarter. And then I started piecing out, and you'll have to catch the video after I disconnect and see how I got to this point. But pretty good so far. He's you know, I changed the position of the arms, but he's on his way. There again, you can see the fur's already kind of, that detail's disappearing. Right in there, you can see. You know, the only thing I found around that is to kind of keep working it. I wish I could figure out a way to make that hold a little better, but I haven't. Maybe I'll do some experience with a hairdryer, or, you know, to rapid, to accelerate the drying time, get some of the moisture out. I don't know. I'm not sure what I can do to kind of counter that. I remember it being a really big pain when I was working on the Hinox model, because he has some details in his leg, like for the wood. I just kind of kept doing what I'm doing now, is that like continually work it back in while it's drying, or get it deep enough to where if it dries, it'll still stay. But yeah, I don't know what it is that's going to work with this to kind of make that stand out more. If I figure it out, I'll let you know. I have a sinking suspicion
sinking, sneaking. I don't know. I have a suspicion that if I dry this quicker, or I make these more three-dimensional, that they'll hold their detail a lot better, which is kind of what I'm doing right now. Is I'm sort of adding some striations to kind of get it to poke out a little bit more. All right, guys. You can see his head's getting more round. I put in the detail of where I want the eyes and the mouth to be. I know where the ear's going to go. I know where the antenna is going to go. We already know where the arms. We know we're going to have to strengthen these next time because they're a little too noodly. But otherwise, he stands okay. I mean, he really has to balance like just right. So there again, I think that's going to be a matter of weight distribution and getting where that center line of balance is correct. So, all right, folks. Well, like I said, I'll probably follow up on this next weekend. I don't know if I'll have time tomorrow to do a whole 2 hours. Probably not. But the geisha project I'm still working on, it's getting close to done. It's another one of those when I get to it. So they're like, I'd love to tell you what time I'm going to be working on that so you can catch when I'm working on it. But I mean, it's really just whenever I've got time. So we'll see you again later. All right, guys. I'm going to log out. Thanks. Bye. By the way, if you haven't already liked this video, please do so. Please, he said politely. And if you're not subscribed and you catch this later, hey, if you want to see more, subscribe. So, yeah, for all you guys that are here, you know the way it works. All right, bye-bye.